Shalom, shalom, Akim. I'm trying to I got this video I want to put together. Well, it's a couple videos, 3 videos, a few. Um, Basically about the wicked. Who is the wicked? We all should know. And the bloody man, showing how these particular people really feel about a particular people, which is the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. How they view us in their society, you know. We'll never get justice on this, no matter how much you think, how much you want to march and protest and all that. You'll never get justice on this side. I got 3 videos here I would like to play, just demonstrating their attitudes towards um, these particular people, which is the chosen people, the holy people of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and give double honors to the teachers and elders that I learned this truth from, and the apostles and the brothers on down, mainly from GMS, and the brothers that push the like-minded doctrine. This the brother Abaka La'awalam. Just trying to share some insight with the Akim. I'm gonna let this video here play. Hopefully it won't be too long, but it may be. I'm gonna let this video play.
Back in your little cage until the monkey controller gets here. Y'all hear that, right? Y'all hear that, right? Go back in your little cage until the monkey controller gets here. Y'all hear that, right? Y'all hear that, right? Now at 11, this race.
The guy told this Edomite here told the so-called black man, which is which he'd be more likely maybe from the tribe of Judah, the southern kingdom. He told him to get back in his cage, something of that fashion. He's supposed to be a retired LAPD detective. This Edomite here, so-called white man. I'm gonna continue with the video.
This rant caught on camera, and the incident's going viral in part because it involves a retired LAPD detective. The man can be heard using multiple racial slurs while in an argument after a minor traffic accident. The LAPD says the person in the video is no longer with the department and does not represent its diverse workforce. The LA District Attorney's Office says it will now review by that detective. Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our...
Well, that's the end of that video, and I'm gonna put this out. This is for fair use under the Fair Use Act. This is for educational purposes only. United States Code, and yeah, that's the it. You heard that he was an ex. He's supposed to have more integrity about himself when it comes to handling the public. He more likely he was on the force more than 15 years, 20 years or so. So he's supposed to have supposed to know how to conduct himself when he's dealing with the public. But it's just spilled out, who he is. I just want to get a scripture on that of who the wicked is. It's in Malachi, the 1st chapter, and the 4th verse. It says, "Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them Salakia, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever." See, that's who the wicked is. Esau, Edom, the Edomites. And I want to go to this next verse. It's in Job, the 9th chapter, and the 24th verse. says here, it says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. That's who control this earth. It's a particular nation of people which control the earth now. It's been controlling the earth for nearly a century now. I'm sorry, Slovakia, half a century now. But they've been ruling more than that. But this current society, you know, this modern day society, they've been ruling more than or nearly for more than or nearly half a century under their modern names and modern system now. It said the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Basically, that's what they did. That's why you got the depiction of our Messiah, Hamashiach Yahushua, but he's depicted as a so-called Edomite, so-called white man, and he's coming back, Yahushua, which the world this world know as Jesus Christ. He's coming back to judge the earth. He's the main judge, Yahushua. You know, he's coming back to judge, so they covered his face. Which is called iconoclasm, and just to get an insight of who the wicked is. And I have another clip here I'd like to share, dealing with this St. Louis police officers and a undercover so-called black man detective, during a protest.
Three police officers are on trial in St. Louis accused of brutally beating one of their own. In September of 2017, Detective Luther Hall was working undercover at a protest that erupted after a local police officer was found not guilty of murdering a black man that he shot after a car chase. So while at the demonstration, Hall was severely beaten by a group of police officers who say that they thought he was a protester. The trial against three of those officers is in its second week. Following this story for Lauren.
If you hear that, he said they severely beat this man, this black man. A couple of a couple of officers, which were all of them was so-called white men, and they severely beat this detective, which they try to say just because he was there protesting, that gave them all the right to do what they did, because he was there to protest. But I'm gonna get this scripture about these bloody men. These men are just out for blood, man. They. This is in Psalms, the 73rd chapter, in the 3rd verse. It says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked, for there was no bands in their death, but there was strength, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride come past them as a chain. Violence covered them as a garment." You see that they just violent. You know what I'm saying? Their whole mannerism towards the so-called black, Latino, and Native Americans are based upon violence, and they looking at you like who you really are. They treat you like who you really are to them, an enemy. Because according to the scripture, they are our enemies. You can see that through their behavior throughout history. Who does these detestable, heinous crimes or heinous things to a person that's so-called supposed to be your friend. They treat you just how they are to you, how they are according to the word, according to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh stated, these people are to you. They treat you just like that, an enemy. They don't treat you like a friend. They plot and scheme constantly on you. You know what I'm saying? Somebody, they trying to plot and scheme. Just like the words, they lie in wait. But I'm gonna let this video play.
Traeger from our St. Louis affiliate. Thank you so much for joining us, Lauren. Man, a really, really interesting and disturbing case that I am surprised has not risen to the level of a national story. So that being said, many people may not have heard of this story, particularly because, the incident happened back in 2017. So bring us up to speed. What happened to Luther Hall back then?
Well, I think you make an excellent point. It really has not gained a lot of national attention. That's been kind of surprising to us here in the local media as well. And I think you kind of summarized it pretty well. There was some community outrage over that trial where that officer was acquitted in that murder case. So Luther Hall is a St. Louis police officer. He is African American. He was a
See, what she said. She said that the story is basically not hitting national headlines. They don't, they try to keep things like this. They don't try to draw too much attention like that, man. Because they know, more than likely because of who this guy, this black so-called black man works for one of their departments. So more than likely, these particular these guys here, they gonna face more likely charges just because of the fact of who he is. But if this happened to say a regular black man, more than likely these guys wouldn't be facing nothing, bro. If he was just there like a regular black man there at the protest, not an undercover detective, man, they would find any and every reason to make it seem like they was justified, just like the word said, they justified themselves in front of men. That's what they do when they find they find an excuse to do for their wickedness, basically. That's what the scripture says too, roughly paraphrasing. I'm gonna let this video continue playing.
Signed that night as a detective to work undercover. So there were protests that evening. He was there not, he says, to monitor the protesters, but to gather evidence of potential crime. So if there was property damage or people who were looking to harm others, he was there blending in with the protesters. He was in plain clothes. He did not have his duty weapon with him. And he was filming, just as many protesters do, of course. So he was blending into the crowd. And on the stand during this trial, he very emotionally described what he says happened to him, which was essentially in a very short time. He says he was rushed by a group of officers. All 5 officers who have been charged in this case are white. 3 of them still remain on trial right now. And Luther Hall says in just a matter of 15 or 20 seconds, he was taken to the ground. He was arrested and in the process pretty severely beaten and injured. He had significant injuries to his face, to his body, and he's had residual impacts from those injuries to this day. Some plates in his neck and near his shoulders. He's had pancreatitis and difficulties eating from all of this. And notably, he did have a partner that night as well, who is white and also undercover. They were not together at the time, but the partner also took the stand and testified that he too was arrested that night as a potential protester, but he was arrested by black officers and he claimed it was a completely textbook arrest. He was not injured in any single way.
Yeah, you heard that, right? You heard what she just said. She said the black detective had a partner there, which was a so-called white man. He was also arrested that night, and what happened to him? He got basically he was basically treated like you supposed to be treated. There was no injuries. He didn't get tackled to the ground or anything of that matter. And they were in the officers. Just so happened to be black men, black so-called black guys, that arrested this so-called white guy, bro. So that's like that's crazy, bro. That lets you know you see the difference between these people and the difference between us these people, which are so-called white people, and the so-called black people, and how they do their job. Cause according to the Bible, who we are the righteous. We are the righteous seed. We do things. For the most part, not talking about the wickedness of our people, which they're wicked too. They're wicked too. They got wicked people amongst us, but generally speaking, we are the righteous seed. So we do things in a righteous manner, for the most part. But and for the most part, they do things wickedly. You probably got a little, here and there. You got people of their nation that, that try to do things right, this, that, and the third. But that way you can weigh the balance in. For the most part, they are wicked as hell, man. These people are wicked, just like the Bible said. That the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. You know, and they are the border of wickedness, which is Esau, Edom, which is so-called white man. So-called white race. Let this video continue playing.
So some of the local community outrage here, of course, has been that Luther Hall was beaten because these officers, it's alleged, believed he was a protester and just simply a black man. Testimony that's been coming out in this trial.
Yeah, so the trial, there's 3 officers on trial, but they weren't the only officers implicated in his beating. At least one other officer has he's already pleaded guilty. How did he explain himself on the stand? Because the other thing that happened too is, these officers weren't exactly upfront about what happened.
Yeah, I mean, certainly as part of the allegations from the prosecutors here is that the officers themselves had exchanged some text messages prior to the protests even starting, indicating that they wanted to beat up protesters, essentially. That's what some of the text messages, according to the prosecutors, indicate. That officer that you mentioned, he's now a former officer, Randy Hayes. He has since pleaded guilty, and he was questioned very significantly by the defense because initially he had said that Luther Hall was resisting or wouldn't put his hands up, wasn't complying with the arrest. And that's why they had to use some amount of force to effect the arrest. On the stand, he completely did a 180 and said, I was in the wrong. He said, upon hindsight and recollection, I was in the wrong, and Luther Hall was not resisting arrest in any way. So he did change.
I should have paused it earlier. I'll probably go back, but you heard what she said. She said that these police officers exchanged text messages with each other, saying they basically looking to beat up protesters that night. They exchanged text messages stating that fact, and plus they said that the black detective, the victim said that the officer said that he was resisting arrest. That was the cause of them. I guess his injuries or whatever. But then you heard him say that no, that he didn't resist arrest. So they a bunch of liars, bro. Bunch of liars. These people are just liars and deceivers. They are the devil, which devil means deceiver. I'm gonna get some scriptures that support. Psalms 5 and verse 6, it reads, "Thou shalt destroy them that speaketh leasing." Leasing means basically lies. Yahweh will abhor the bloody and deceitful man. See, that's what they are, man. They speak lies, they speak deceit, they out for blood. You know what I'm saying? That's who these people are. That's what they do. They've been doing this. Throughout history, bro. You check their track record. That's all they've been doing: killing, stealing, and destroying. Which that's what the Hamashiach said. That's all the devil is here to do: kill, steal, and destroy. That's all these people are known for doing. And at which they continue on to this day. Let me get Psalms 26. The 9. It says here, gather not my soul with sinners, nor my life with bloody men. That's basically our deliverance. Deliver us from the hands of the wicked. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Yahweh Shah. Because I don't want to be in this ultimate destruction that's coming to this place, which is going to be by fire through these nuclear weapons and the coming of and also the coming of our Savior Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, you know, through 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 by way of chariots and Salakia is going to burn this place down. You know, I want to be delivered. I don't want to be gathered with the sinners, nor my life with the bloody men. You know, because they gonna this is for their destruction, man. This is basically their judgment. But whoever of our people will not take heed to the prophets, you know, the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, you're gonna meet that fate. You know, you're gonna meet that destruction. I'm gonna go back to continue on this video. I got another video too.
His mind. Now, again, it's important to kind of note here that he's already pleaded guilty. He did indicate he's seeking a more lenient sentence from the federal court because he is seeing potential prison time just like these other officers are. So the defense was kind of hammering on that, saying, did you just change your mind so that you could get a better deal? But he again was saying, no, I need to come up here and tell the truth that Luther Hall was not resisting arrest when we used force on him.
So far the trial's been going on for 2 weeks. I was seeing some of the coverage from your station, and there's been suggestions that it's dragging on too long. Where does the case stand now, and how long is it expected to last?
We did get some indications yesterday that it might be starting to wrap up. The defense initially had said they were going to call up to 30 witnesses, and they have now told the judge that may not be the case. The prosecution still has the case, so they have a few more witnesses will go over to the defense. It's interesting here because there are 3 defendants, 3 separate officers. Each of them have their own defense attorney and are clearly taking their own defense strategies. Some of them are saying, my officer was nowhere even near the scene. Some of them are saying perhaps Luther Hall did in some ways, culpability in this as well. So they're each taking different strategies, which is causing the trial to go on a little bit longer. So I do think it could wrap up perhaps by the end of this week, likely into next week. But it will, of course, be up to a jury to decide whether or not these officers will be held accountable. And part of the big concern about this particular case, when this jury was picked, it is an all-white jury with only 2 black alternates. So far, it doesn't look like they're going to get to weigh in on this case. So a lot of people are sort of watching the outcome to see really where this will go. And perhaps one of the officers may be found guilty. Perhaps none of them will. It's still really up in the air at this particular time.
When I was sort of reading about this case, I thought a few things. A, how damaging this case is going to be for the relationship between the community and the police department, which, you don't need any more incidents to sort of damage that relationship. But then also I thought about the rank and file and just how they're reacting to this information. Do we know how the rank and file police officers, their take on this case?
There is.
Well, you just heard that, right? They said they trying to, basically their lawyers is coming up with a strategy to try to, to say this, to say that this officer wasn't even around. They trying to slither away from that, slither away like the snakes they are, man. That's crazy. They trying to slither out of that, slither out of what they're doing, and it should basically it's supposed to have body cams then, so the body cams should show the whole incident. But I want to get this also in Exodus. Basically, that's a false report, Exodus 23 and 1. It says, "Thou shalt not raise a false report, put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness." Basically that's what they doing. They trying to, or their lawyers doing anyway. Basically they lying. Basically, and it further says in verse 2, "Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil." That was a whole group of guys, that came and tried to that's what they do anyway. They group up and they trying to accomplish whatever goal they trying to accomplish. Neither shall thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrestle judgment. That's basically what the lawyers are doing. They bringing up false reports. You know, they trying to wrestle against what this guy wrestle against judgment. They trying to wrestle against what the victim is stating. That's what the lawyers basically at these officers' defense. That's what they're doing. Getting back to the video.
There's an interesting kind of component to this. There are two unions that represent officers in the city of St. Louis. One represents a lot of the officers, and one represents particularly the black officers. And they have made some remarks. That union has said they think it's sort of interesting that there is silence from a lot of the rank and file and even from the leadership, that they have not spoken out in support of Luther Hall, that there has just kind of been a lot of silence about this particular case. And I think that's part of the question for the community here is when we talk about a blue line and supporting police officers in their job, does that blue line extend to black police officers given this particular situation? So there are certainly those folks who are saying, we really need to look at this. This is really an issue. But from the community standpoint too, I've also seen some people who say, perhaps police need to look at their tactics. Do they need to have an undercover officer there at all? Because they feel like it was meant to monitor the protest community only. And there's some people that are maybe not in support of Luther Hall for that particular reason. So there are a lot of dynamics here at work. There has been a lot of division, and of course there's a lot of racial division in St. Louis, as there is around the country as well. And that's why I sort of feel like this particular case is kind of a powder keg of all of it.
It's so true. I mean, what we haven't sort of touched on is in sort of the unfolding of this case, there have been allegations that the officers were particularly heavy-handed when it came to dealing with the protesters, not just Luther Hall, but other protesters, not physical, but maybe using, pepper balls or things that were really not necessary considering the way the protesters were behaving. And that's like a whole other topic of conversation. Investigative reporter Lauren Traeger with our St. Louis station KMOV. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the end of that video. But to the end of that, you heard what she was saying what was she saying? She was saying that basically, the leaders of the Slovakia, the leaders of the departments, the head of the departments are not even trying to speak on the incident on behalf of the black officer that was a victim in this. They're not even trying to speak up on his behalf, or they ain't saying anything at all about the whole incident. That's crazy. Unless you ain't gonna get no justice on this side. This is not our rest. Like the scripture said, this is not our rest. This is not our kingdom. And I got this other video right here I want to play.
Like I say, my last year there was a story that came out about with a brother named Quan Jones out of Iowa, and he was jumped by some white supremacists. He was on his way to his girlfriend's home, and they grabbed him, beat him up, called him N-words, and tried to drag him to a creek until somebody spotted him, started calling him out for what they're doing. They were arrested, Dale Lee Millard, 29, and a Jesse James Downs, 28. Now, to say they look, 29 and 28, they look 49 and 48, like I say, my God. Anyway, so do you know that Dale Lee Millard, he was the 29-year-old, it looked like he's 49. That one was sentenced.
I'm gonna go back and read what it says there.
Dale Lee Millard, 29, and a Jesse James.
I was trying to read what it says.
Last year there was a story that came out about with a brother named Quan Jones. He was jumped by some white supremacists. He was on his way to his girlfriend's home, and they grabbed him, beat him up, called him N-words, and tried to drag him to a creek until somebody spotted him, started calling them out for what they're doing. They were arrested, Dale Lee Millard, 29, and a Jesse James Downs, 28. Now, to say they look, 29 and 28, they look 49 and 48, like I say, my God. Anyway, 28. Now, to say they look, 29 and 28, they look 49 and 48, like I say, my God. Anyway, so do you know that Dale Lee Millard,
So it said, our man who choked and beat black man leaves him with fractured face, sentenced to 3 years of probation. That's what it said too. That's what's going. He's going to get into that. One of these guys, one of these one of the attackers, just only got 3 years of probation. That's crazy, bro. I'm gonna let the guy speak.
he was the 29-year-old, it looked like he's 49. That one was sentenced, to 3 years probation. But let's get to why he was sentenced to 3 years probation. Now, Millard was arrested in June and charged with willful injury causing serious injury, a felony offense, and the maximum amount of time he could have got at the time was 5 years. Now, say Millard and Jesse James Downs was also charged with willful injury causing serious injury, attacked Jones in the early morning on May 16th while he was on his way to his girlfriend's house that we talked about in the 100 block of East Titus Avenue in Des Moines, Iowa, okay, at the time. Now, it said that the brother had went, last year, to knock on the door. He said 3 intoxicated Mzungus came from behind. They attacked him before his girlfriend could answer the door, and because they thought he was trying to break into the home, they said witness heard 2 men. They say only 2, are charged in the case, and they were saying that this N-word tried to break into our house, so we beat him up. Now, the brother has suffered multiple facial fractures, a broken wrist, required 10 stitches. It said during the assault, they said that he was choked, punched, and dragged to the creek where his head was held under water. They was trying to drown this dude, and they got no attempted murder charge whatsoever. So that's white supremacy. White supremacy give you an immunity of law. Always remember that. This is why, when they say, well, if they do something, they get probation. We do something, we get 20 years. It's called an immunity of law. That's what it is. That's a benefit of white supremacy, an immunity of law. This is why they love the system so much. They love it. This is why they would die for it, because they know there's no other country in the world that would give them immunity of law like this country would give them. Okay?
Yep. See, that's in the scriptures, bro. That's in the scriptures. Just like the brother was saying, they had died for this country because it's only built for them anyway. They built the society. They make the laws. You know what I'm saying? They protected by the laws. That's why they had that riot. That riot that was in that Capitol riot. That if that was so called these Black Lives Matter people, man, it would have been bloodshed. It would have been bodies everywhere, man. You know what I'm saying? But let me get this in Psalms. I'm gonna bring it out again. I know I brought it out already. I'm gonna bring it out again. Psalms 37:3 or 37. Well, yeah, 37. Psalms 73. Salakia 73:3. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. We know who the wicked is, Esau, Edom. For for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compassed them about as a chain, violence covered them as a garment. I had brought that out earlier, but you see it there. They not in trouble as most men. In personal testimony, I was unjust. I had a court case that I was was found guilty, unjustly found guilty. If that's a proper, that's not even the right word. I was unlawfully. That's the proper word. Found guilty of something I didn't commit, of a crime that I didn't commit. Was and the person was a so-called officer. You know, he basically lied on the stand, which is perjury. But and also the video was in my favor. You know, and they still took this guy. They still took this guy word over evidence and everything. And I had to serve time in jail, lost everything that I own. You know, this officer, you know, this Edomite lied on me, you know, and the evidence was in my favor and everything, you know, and also the charge that I charged with has a mandatory minimum sentence of a mandatory minimum sentence. And just so happened when I was in this facility, I seen on news there was this guy Edomite. He got charged with the same charge, which is as a mandatory. I'm gonna say it's a mandatory 6 months in jail. It's mandatory. You know, you found guilty, you mandatory got to serve this sentence. The guy only got a month in jail. You know, he only got a month in jail, and it's mandatory. The minimum is mandatory 6 months. This guy only served a month in jail. So you see, just like the brother said, the supremacy, the immunity of being the so-called white of the white race, which is the Edomites. You know what I'm saying? They're white. They're being of their race. You know, they're not in trouble as most men. They're not in trouble as other men. Salakia.
Right? This is why they up here talking about 1776, and this is why they want to overthrow the government, because they saying, wait a minute, you even halfway threatening that you're going to put me on the equal playing field with everybody else. Oh no, you know, we got to storm the Capitol. That's why they stormed the Capitol, because they love their immunity of law. Now the brother said the only thing that was in my head was they going to kill me, as the brother said at the time. He said when they started dragging me to the creek, I thought it was over for me. He said now he had injuries, you know, that will total up to $10,000. Now Millard entered what they call an Alfred plea in January, acknowledging prosecutors had strong evidence likely to be successful at trial, but continuing to maintain that he was innocent. The plea reduced the severity of the felony. Now that's interesting. You basically put in a plea, but then you say you're innocent. They say in a deferred judgment, a guilty verdict was withheld and Millard placed on probation. No hate crime charge, no attempted murder. He was fined $3,000 and ordered to pay $10,000 in damages to the brother. Now, if you look at that Mzungu, he one of them broke, dusty ones that's out there, because there's a lot of broken, dusty Mzungus. Now, I know they talk about, you know, some brothers that's dusty, but you don't talk about these dusty Mzungus, and they have no excuse to be dusty in a system that gives them everything. They can be mediocre and get the world. We got to be 100 times better than them where they can be at mediocre to get what they get. So now say Downs, the other guy, pleaded not guilty in August, and he has an April 15th court date, okay? They say he was not charged with hate crimes, although the brother, you know, who did not appear in court, you know, said that they should have been. Yeah, they should have been charged with hate crimes. The moment you using racial slurs in the commission of a crime, it's a hate crime, completely.
You see that? He says no hate crime or nothing that. They use racial slurs with when they was attacking this guy, attacking this so-called black man, you know. And look what they doing to the brothers, the prophets. They basically said that we are hate. They said basically we are a hate group, bringing out the truth, and we harm no. There's nobody getting harmed, physically harmed by these people. There's no violence being done to anyone. We bringing out the scriptures. You reading the Bible, you know, which you have a right to your First Amendment right to believe what you want to believe in, which we believe our faith is in the Bible, and you got, you know, got a right to freedom of speech at that, you know, peaceably assembly. That's what that's all you. That's what you're doing, basically exercising your rights in this so-called society here, bro. This side, it's only bent towards one particular people, you know. But they label, they put these brothers or put us on watched by the FBI as a hate group alongside the Ku Klux Klan, like guys like this, which they are racist. They are like the brother was saying, if I'm not mistaken, he said they are part of the Klan. They're part of a racist Klan, which they promote violence and they demonstrate it too. You know, that's what they do. They do violence, but they trying to lump us up and say we a hate group. The brothers, the apostles, which are the men of the Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, the men of the Lord. They put them down. They view them as criminals. A hate group. You know, under the watch of the FBI. You know, but this is this was prophesied too. You will be persecuted for the words Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. You will be persecuted for this truth. You know, these so-called churches around, they're not being persecuted. You know, they get looked at like they the top citizens and of this whole society. You know, if you look at them, you know they looking at them like nothing's wrong with them. They squeaky clean. Nothing can be said or said wrong about these people. They're not being persecuted for the word. But you look at these brothers, they're being persecuted, you know, on a high level. The FBI even put these brothers as hate groups, man, you know. And they don't promote crimes or none of that, you know. Especially the brothers at GMS and speak the like-minded doctrine. You know, I'm gonna let this brother continue.
They didn't get charged with that, but as I told you guys, and you gotta keep remembering this, the white supremacist has an immunity of law. Just like you look at the white supremacist that was shot up, you know, the massage parlors. It's not racially motivated. The police automatically turn into his de facto lawyer and say it's not racially motivated. He haven't had one lawyer come out saying it's not racially motivated. It was the race soldiers that said it wasn't racially motivated. You understand? They all take care of each other. The prosecutor, the race soldier, the judge, they all take care of each other. That's why I always said that they don't have a right to judge black people. They don't have even a right. I said because they cannot judge us fairly. We need to have black judges in black cases. And the jury need to be 50% black. To get anything, and I mean, when I say black, I mean real black people. We ain't talking about Candace Owens black. We'll make sure I put that out there. We ain't talking about Candace Owens black.
And you heard that right? On the other video from I think which one it was talking about. It was one of the other videos that they said the jury was all white. I think it was with those the police officers against the detective, the black guy that was a detective. They said the jury on that case was all white. You know, see the injustice in that. You got a right to a fair trial. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be a mixed majority of citizens. You got a right to citizens that look like you. People that look like you to be on the jury trial. You got a right to a fair trial. That wouldn't be a fair trial. You know, got all white jury. That's crazy, man. Like they screw you around all they can with this so-called justice system. It's not a justice system, bro. This is a criminal justice system for the criminals, which are the so-called Edomites. Which are the Edomites, the so-called white people. You know, it's a criminal justice system for the criminals, simple and plain.
We talking about your average everyday black person. Not Clarence Thomas. You don't want Clarence Thomas being the judge. Because Clarence Thomas is going to say, oh yeah, that's a great sentence for him. But Clarence Thomas will get your black behind 100 years. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about, this particular story. And make sure to download our African Diaspora News Channel app in the Google Play and App Store.
Okay, that's the end of that video. I want to bring up, see that, that lets you know, bro. That lets you know your place in this so-called society when it comes to if you if you're so-called black, Latino, the Native American. You know, even though I ain't have any footage of the northern tribe, it happens to them too. You know, I'm gonna leave off with this scripture in Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel 7:24. Salakia Ezekiel 7. Ezekiel 7:23. Salakia says, "Make a chain for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence." That's why the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, the Hamashiach Yahweh Shai is coming back to put these bastards under bondage. You know what I'm saying? Um, just like the scripture said, whoever lead into captivity shall go into captivity. You know, that's why it says in Ezekiel here, which this applied. This at this time it was applied to the Israelites, to us, but it this our the curse or the cup will be passed on to them, which this applies to them currently. You know, it says make a chain. I'm gonna say it again, Ezekiel 7:23. Make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence. You know, that's what that's all they do. Violence come up, pride come past them as a chain. You know, they're the bloody men. You know, I'm gonna get this scripture here, leading to captivity. This is Revelations 13:10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. See, that's what that's this is their judgment. You know, this is that's what Yahweh Shai Hamashiach is coming back to basically judge this place, judge these people, these heathen Edomite, the Edomites, for the most part, and redeem the elect. You know, they must go into captivity. They must be killed with the sword. You know what I'm saying? That by the way of these the World War III, which is brewing today, which is brewing. They must be killed. They must go. They must be brought into captivity, man. You know that's all I have for this video. I hope it was edifying to the body. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. You know, I'm gonna say so, shalom, shalom, for now. All right.